Let's get started on Thursday. Chronological order, as we like to do for these games. Starting with Arkansas against Gonzaga. Guys, are Arkansas fans doing the annoying narrative of touting another Sweet 16, Matt? Because I don't know if I can handle it. They're 0-2 against the spread, against a 13 seed and a 12 seed. Congrats, Hogs. Way to go. Yada, yada, yada. What do you think about this game, Matt? Drew Timme went Super Saiyan against Memphis. Can he do it again against Arkansas?
I kind of think he could, but I think he's going to pick his spots. It's, like he did against Memphis, right? I think the first half he was a little more timid. And then when he turned it on late, he was obviously timid. Good, Jim. I sort of backed on that one. I don't know, Kai. I think that this is, you look at this number, it's up to 9 right now, open to 8.5. So a little bit of money coming in on Gonzags. I kind of think that it's a good matchup for the Zigzags, but I worry about Jalen Williams up front. Jim, very good post defender. I think Arkansas, while their offense has been troubling, I thought they've defended pretty well so far. That Vermont offense is no joke. And then New Mexico State's a tough team to prepare for with a guy like Teddy Allen as well. So Kai, I wonder if are we disrespecting Arkansas's defense? Even though I know they may be saying we're disrespecting them. Are we privy to this defense? It's been pretty good.
Matt, I'm gonna poke a little bit of hole on you here. You've been flaunting Mr. Jalen Williams as a great post defender. He's in the 35th percentile nationally. I'm not sure he's great. I think based on the mode we saw Timme unlock late in that Memphis game against potentially even better post defenders, I think he's going to have his way against Jalen Williams. We saw him have his way against Evan Mobley last year. I mean, I don't know who else you can score against and continue proving that you're excellent. Holmgren isn't really an interior post-up kind of guy, but they do play two bigs at once, and that's not really Arkansas style. I mean, you're probably throwing Adish Toney at one of these two, and that's a bit of an issue. My concern for Gonzaga is their guard defense. I think over and over it's been a problem. It was a big issue in their regular season losses to Alabama and to Duke. Now you take on an Arkansas team with Note, potentially even Chris Like, some of the more power guards that they have. Devo Davis has come on late offensively. Umude is a tough cover for this Gonzaga team. So I think Arkansas can do some things that bug Gonzaga. The number feels just a hair high to me. I'm thinking this is a little like last year where I still think Gonzaga is the national title winner, Kai. They've been spooked a little bit, but Arkansas can hang around with them, give them a scare, just like they did to Baylor last year en route to the Bears national title. So that's where I'm looking with this one. I think I think Arkansas hangs around.
Yeah, the Razorbacks offense, I wouldn't say it's super intimidating outside of Notai, who is very intimidating to me. That guy rocks. I'm totally on board. But the basket attack doesn't seem like it's going to work against Gonzaga. You talk about Arkansas's defense. Gonzaga's interior defense is awesome. They lead the country in 2-point field goal percentage defense. They rarely foul. I think those are two very important things going against Arkansas. And I think they will have success in the post with Timme and Holmgren, two matchup issues for them. Matt, most important thing for me, they don't turn the ball over. 7 turnovers against Georgia State, 7 turnovers against Memphis. That's incredible. Those two teams force turnovers. Arkansas is not going to be able to do that against Gonzaga. I think there's a huge edge here. Now, 9 points we've seen in this tournament. That's a lot, even though it is Gonzaga versus Arkansas. So I'm probably leaning towards the Hogs and the number ever so slightly. Next.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Kai, real quick, do we notice that JT Note is he's continued his cold funk? I think his shooting percentage has completely eroded the last few weeks of the season. So it's a little concerning from Arkansas.
He takes tough shots, man. I mean, a lot of the times, middle of the year, they were going in his sky ball 3-pointers that he takes from 28 feet. But
knuckleballs, yeah.
I just don't know that there's a great guard defender on this Gonzaga team that's going to lock him up. That's my concern.
Now, next game.
Should we total? Kai? Should we hit it?
Yes,
There's only
go ahead.
8 games. There's only 8 games. 155 points feels high, but should be a track meet, right?
I'm with Jim. Yeah, I kind of felt high to me. Like I know the New Mexico State game is a little bit of an anomaly. It played to 70 possessions, fairly fast, even though it was 53 to 48. Just super ugly game. Note had 8 steals in that game. I think was the final box score tally. 8 steals is wild. It does feel like it'll be efficiency-wise low, Jim, but I don't know if Arkansas is the most disciplined in transition. I haven't looked at the specific splits on that yet, but I think Gonzaga can maybe attack more in transition, which is where they've struggled at times so far, at least recently.
Efficiency low. I disagree. Gonzaga has 1.2 points per possession against Memphis and Georgia State. I think they're going to score easily. It's not going to be a problem. I lean towards the over. Yeah. All right. Michigan, Villanova. Guys, here, in my opinion, the spread feels a tad short, about 5 points, but I don't want to fade an underdog Michigan team in the tournament. They just cover. They just win games here. Credit Juwan Howard. Yeah, we're going to credit him. We're not going to show that picture of him hugging Kennedy Chandler, Jim, because it's not relevant to the slap of the assistant. Is there a Dickinson edge in this game? I would say yes, but Dixon should get some credit. He's stronger than he appears. He's a pretty good defender. What do you think?
Yeah, this line dipped to 4.5 at one or two places, Kai. I kind of hope it goes down because I think I'm willing to back Villanova at a number like 4. It's kind of the push and pull, the tug of war with Dickinson, where Villanova's playing 5 guys that can sit on the perimeter. I mean, Eric Dixon hit 2 huge threes against Ohio State. If Dickinson has to come out and guard him out there, both in ball screens and just spacing the floor, that's a massive edge for Nova. I think that gives them driving lanes to get into, no rim presence. Diabate has struggled a little more lately. They've had to play Terrence Williams heavy, so I don't think they'd have much rim protection there. But man, on the other end, Matt, I know Villanova's stout defensively, but Dickinson can kind of do what he did against Colorado State. Like, these guys are smaller than him. He's going to catch the ball in that left block, flip it up with his left hand. We know he doesn't really have much of a left shoulder, like turning with his right hand, but he doesn't need one against teams that don't have true size to make him go that way. I watched some of the Villanova post possessions just from the season. They don't hard double so much as they dig, and they try to get you to pick it up and have to kick it out. I just don't know how much that's going to bother Dickinson, who's seen stuff like that all season. It feels like a high efficiency game, but I trust Villanova just a little more.
Yeah, no take on the side. I think Kai brought up the point about Michigan seeming like they're on a roll. Michigan, UNC, you both have to treat them like the teams we thought they were back in November, because they've played like that recently and maybe even better in some spots. But Nova's trending right back to where we thought they would be too. The matchup is, I think you're right, Jim, favorable for high efficiency, a highly efficient game. I do lean the over, even though Nova likes to crawl and they dictate the tempo so well. I give a pretty seismic edge to Villanova's guards on the offensive end, Kai, even with the infusion of my guy, Frankie Collins, a very stout defender. I think Gillespie and Moore can score in their crafty sort of isolation type plays with those, those pinch post type situations. However, I think Jim brings a good point about Dickinson. I think he can score pretty easily, not easily, fairly easily over Dickinson inside. Question is, are they going to utilize him properly? It seems like sometimes Dickinson gets kind of lost in no man's land on the perimeter. Yeah. Colorado State, it took them a while to figure that out. Like, oh my God, we have an obvious edge inside. And to be honest, Caleb Houston's shooting was really the catalyst, not even like Dickinson on repeat. So I hope if you're Juwan Howard, you prioritize that. Phil Martello, you prioritize that. I think that's a clear edge where you have to go to, right? Don't overcomplicate this. You have the edge inside, go there.
Yeah, he likes to float. I think he's trying to prove he can shoot threes. It's not a good. Don't do that. I think the size.
Prove us later.
I think size, switchability of Nova, their wings, their guards. I think that's going to be an issue for your Brooks, your Collins, your Jones. A little bit smaller perimeter for Michigan. And Michigan's defense, I'm not too convinced on. They're not quite Ohio State poor level, but they're not too far in front. And Nova sliced up Ohio State 1.2 points per possession. I can see them scoring pretty easily against Michigan's defense as well. I lean towards Nova at -5, but again, scared of that Michigan dog in the tournament.
I love the small guards angle though, just for Villanova guard post ups. I love when they go with that with Gillespie and Moore. I think they can beat up on Michigan's guards inside.
I'm with you. Next game, Matthew. This game is the matchup we wanted, the matchup that was expected in this region. Texas Tech versus your Dukies. Texas Tech favored. In my opinion, that's correct. The correct team is favored in this game. For me, it's all about defense. Texas Tech took over the number 1 spot in KenPom defensively. They're so intimidating. I just don't think Duke can go out and simply out-talent Texas Tech. They're going to have to do more than that. Can Coach K draw up a good offensive scheme?
No, it's going to be the same scheme where he has guys like Paolo Banchero and AJ Griffin kind of at the top of the key, and they're trying to drive into gaps of the best gap defending defense in all of college basketball. So I've seen this movie before. I am not excited to watch this game from a Duke fan perspective. I think you're going to get really frustrated watching Duke kind of bang their heads against the wall trying to get into seams, and they just aren't there against Texas Tech. And then when Tech dials up that pressure to layer on top, they're already like basically impenetrable shell that they form around the lane. Jim, I guess the key for Duke is, and we've seen them do this against Virginia. I mean, other pack line defenses, they see a few in the ACC. I mean, Notre Dame kind of runs one as well. They can just shoot over it. However, their shot makers have not been as prolific as we saw earlier this season. AJ Griffin doesn't instill that fear in me like he did for that short span. However,
he might be hurt.
Right? So we saw Keels get those big minutes late, and Keels has been kind of bad the last few weeks. He had some good moments late there. The key here, Jim, for me is Roach. I mean, just an absolute revelation for Duke, basically, lifting the Devils out of their offensive sludge there. But against Texas Tech's length, man, I don't think he's going to have his way either. I think the under is a great bet here. Even as much as I hate betting Duke unders, it's been bet down to 137. I think both defenses assert their will against the opposing offense.
Yeah, Duke's defense is pretty bad right now, to be quite honest. But Texas Tech offense might be a good salve for that. Could heal that, the issues. Matt, I brought up this stat before on this show, but Jared Burson keeps tweeting it, and it keeps getting better and better. Texas Tech's played 24 unique opponents this year. 17 of them have had their season low in paint points. You just cannot score inside. Montana State only had 16. Notre Dame only had 10. You have to score over the top. And while Duke has some shooters, as you mentioned, I don't think that's where they're comfortable. They shot 65% inside the arc against Notre Dame. I don't think they're going to get anywhere near that number, both in terms of quantity and quality looks. Against Texas Tech, I think that frustrates a young team. So I am leaning Texas Tech as well here. The Red Raiders, Kai, I think their defense just frustrates Duke a little too much.
I'm going with the far superior defensive team, the better coached team in Texas Tech here. A little bit worried about Texas Tech offense, right? Montana State, no trouble. But we saw them have issues against Notre Dame, a team that's not great defensively, just 0.94 points per possession against the Irish, 27% from three. That's not the first time that's happened this season. They can go through lulls. Duke's defense isn't great. They're not super disciplined, but they are bigger. They're more athletic. So it is concern. I do like the underlean, Matthew, that you had, but I'm going Texas Tech on the spread here. -1, basically a pick.
Yeah, I think with Mark Williams, you can make Tech shoot jumpers. Maybe, I think just his presence up there instills some hesitancy for the drivers, and you make Tech into a jump shooting team, then their offense can look a little bit stagnant for sure. So
foul trouble could be big. They're going to try to get him in foul trouble. So keep an eye on that.
Next game, one I am looking very much forward to. And Matthew, I know one that you have very much interest in as well. teaser. We do best bets on this show called Best Bets.
We do.
Houston versus Arizona. Guys, stat. The last KenPom top 10 team Houston has played was Kentucky in the 2019 NCAA tournament, i.e. this is the best team they have played in 3 or 4 or 5 years. Jim, Arizona -2, not surprised. Jim, your hand is up.
Houston played Baylor in the semifinals last year.
Did they?
Yes, Final Four. They lost.
God damn it! All right,
I just want to make sure before we.
I thought my stat was so cool. It's not. All right,
they didn't play very well in that game.
Second best
30,
team.
so.
Yeah,
second best team. I was in Vegas for a week. Let's start over. Arizona -2 is not too surprising here. I think the perception and possibly the reality was they should be a lot higher favor. But again, KenPom has this Houston -1, kind of what we saw with Illinois. Jim, I backed Illinois in that game, perhaps foolishly. I'm kind of in on Houston now, but I want to know your opinion first.
Yeah, I think the way that both those two games went, the Houston game and then the Arizona game, would certainly lead a lot of people down the path of, man, you got to bet Houston here, particularly from the matchup edge of watching TCU get 20 offensive rebounds and then Houston, maybe not the best offensive rebounding team in the country by rate, but just reputationally, they go at the glass. Every time they miss jumpers, it's basically just to play volleyball up there and try to get a second chance. That said, man, I kind of feel like I'm leaning towards zigging back the other way. It seems like there's going to be such a wave of support for Houston because of blowing out Illinois and Arizona looking sketchy. But Matt, we get basically 4 full days for Kirk Kriisa to get healthier. He looked like Garbaggio. If he's the one out there guarding Jamal Shed in pick and roll, then I think Arizona's in a lot of trouble. Unless A, he's healthier, or B, they throw Dalen Terry on him and try to have him be the guy that chases him around those screens. So I'm concerned about the offensive glass. I think that's a real issue for Arizona. They don't box out that well. They like to get out in transition, and they're starting to push instead. But I'm still leaning towards the Wildcats. I can't help it, Matthew.
Yeah, it's my best bet. And I'm not going to underscore with any sort of ring endorsement just because I do respect Houston so much. However, I do think that Houston game was largely a byproduct of Illinois, a team that was maybe more dysfunctional than we give credit to. And I thought they had a really good game plan against a very distinct style of offense that relied very heavily on Kofi. Once they were able to take him away, I thought the supporting cast for Illinois really shrunk. And I don't think that's the case with Arizona. While they did struggle with TCU, who's basically a cousin of sorts from a DNA perspective, the top 2 offensive rebounding teams in the country. Yeah, they struggled, but I think they also proved that they can withstand the punch. And they took a few heavy haymakers from Eddie Lampkin and the men of the Horned Frogs. If anything, this narrative sounds dumb, but I kind of buy into it in this spot. Like, I think that was a good, like, that hardened Arizona a bit to me. And I hope that Tommy Lloyd learned, Jim, as you were yelling so emphatically on the couch, that he needs to be open in playing those twin towers together. I thought when he tried to go small, that was a mistake. And against Houston, you can get away with it more, but you have to absolutely sew up the offensive boards, because I think you make Houston the jump shooters. They're a lot more immortal. But then if you let them supplement on the offensive glass, then yeah, it's like the holy crap, this Houston team's awesome version. So Arizona best bet -2. Don't love it for a few reasons, but I just think it's too low. You got to buy in on Zona now.
Yeah. Right. So if you don't think Kelvin Sampson, people out there, is a top 5 coach in the country, I don't know what basketball you watch. What he has done this year is worthy of Coach of the Year honors. Being number 2 in KenPom, losing 2 of your best players, and rolling a team like Illinois is so impressive. I do think Crease will be more healthy, Jim. He was terrible. I can't believe he played down the stretch.
So bad. Both ends of the floor, he was terrible.
Yeah, but you guys mentioned a couple times, TCU crushed them on the boards, and it was naked, no box outs. I mean, it was undisciplined stuff from Arizona. They will get smoked by Houston if they do that again. And Houston's so disciplined in the post. They destroy paint touches. I know Koloko had a great game against TCU, but I don't think you're getting that from Houston. Look at Coburn. He got harassed every time he caught the ball. They're going to force Arizona to be jump shooters. That worked out pretty well for TCU. The guards like to shoot tough shots. They love it. They can make them, but I don't know if that's sustainable for a game against Houston here. I'm going with Houston. Again, it's a bet on defense like Texas Tech. And for me, it's a bet on the better coach. And that's no shade at Tommy Lloyd. I think Kelvin Sampson is just that good. So I will take Houston to win this game.
Yeah, Kai, the more I do the matchup stuff, I just like, if I was writing this, I would be writing myself into a corner just because I think Houston has some real edges.
Yeah, they do. It's a gut best bet for me. So if you don't trust my gut, then stay away, I guess.
Good ring endorsement. That is Thursday. Before we go to Friday, I got a little ad break for you, courtesy of my buddy Jim and Honey.
That's right, Kai. Today's episode of Best Bets is sponsored by Honey, which is the easiest way to save money when shopping on your phone or your computer. Kai, have you ever been in the spot? You're shopping for something online. You get to check out and ask you for a promo code. So you start Googling around. You're trying to find, I gotta save some money here. I need to find a discount. Well, thanks to Honey, manually searching is a thing of the past. Honey does that for you. It scours the internet and finds the one that best fits your cart. You're shopping, you check out, a Honey button pops up, you click apply coupons. Within a few seconds, you just watch the price go down. You sit back. Kai, after this weekend, we bought about a vat of Pedialyte to nurse ourselves back to health. Had we had Honey, my goodness, we probably would have saved 50% on it. But we have it now. That's the important part. If you don't already have Honey, you could be missing out like we were. By getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting the show. 2-in-1. We love that. I never recommend something I wouldn't use. I love saving money. Big on that, especially after a big, expensive Vegas weekend. So get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/March Madness. That's joinhoney.com/March Madness. I think we can remember that one. Hop in there and get yourself some Honey.